All right, good evening, everybody. See everybody starting to jump on as we're lagging a little bit here. So we're going to see how well we do tonight. The IT department in town was working on the firewall in the building and ran into some issues. So we're going to be running tonight's live off of a cell phone hotspot tonight. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the LTE network holds up. Waiting for some usual comments to pop up so I know that we're not locked up in a delay here. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and get started and see how far we can get into this. So jumping off with the COVID stats as we normally do. We've had some really good news this whole week. We are we've talked about the curve flattening out and what our numbers look like and what our curve looks like hyper locally here. We only had one new case today, which leaves us sitting at 209 total cases that we've had in Barnegat since this kicked off. The great news is if you look back to Sunday and the start of the week, we are averaging only 1.2 new cases a day so far this week through today. So we're really just running one or two new cases a day, which is obviously a lot better than the 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s we were running a couple of weeks ago. So that is great news. We're glad to see that. When we look countywide, they're sitting a little over 7,200 cases in Ocean County. And again, that same flattening curve that we're experiencing here is also being experienced throughout the county. So that's great news. So everything that everybody's doing, staying at home, taking the protective steps they're taking with their masks, with social distancing, is clearly having a positive impact. So thank you for that. Along those lines, we've been open now with the dock and the bathing beach and the rail trail. And if you didn't catch word yet, the county opened Cloverdale Park, I believe, yesterday. So, all the parks are open here locally. We have had very few issues with social distancing or any kinds of problems associated with that, which again is great news and really not unexpected. So appreciate everybody's support in that. Again, we anticipated we'd have a lot of people out. Everybody's been holed up for many weeks now, and we certainly see a lot of people out and about. But we again haven't had any problems with social distancing, with any kind of issues with EO violations. So that's good. On the call load front, like we talk about every week, and the statistics here, our call volume definitely continues to go up. So we're back to what our normal levels would be for May. So that's kind of what we expected, is everybody gets out and kind of gets back to some semblance of normal life here. We see that motor vehicle crashes are up along with the call volume. Makes sense. More cars on the road. The one promising number is our domestic violence cases that seem like they've been at escape velocity here for 6 or 7 weeks. Our DV cases statistically finally started to come down month over month for us so far. So that's great news that those are starting to come down. Still much too high, but they're starting to come down. On the officer attrition front here, I think when we spoke last week was the first time in 6 or 7 weeks we didn't have any officers quarantined. And of course, we know we're in for the long haul on this, and it was too soon, certainly, to spike the football. We have 2 officers quarantined this week. One officer due to an immediate family member that tested positive, and then we have another officer that was quarantined as a precaution due to a potential exposure during an arrest. So probably a good second to talk about that. The officers are doing a great job wearing all the PPE, but the reality is sometimes, as we like to say, law enforcement is a contact sport, and when people don't want to be arrested and resist and or fight our officers, which we had in a case today, masks get dislodged. PPE doesn't always stay where you want it. So in this case, again, out of an abundance of caution, we quarantine the officer and we make sure that way we protect the workforce here. We've had that 90% or better workforce strength since this started, and we certainly want to make sure we maintain that. So 2 officers on quarantine, and we'll obviously be that way for the next 2 weeks or a little less then. So that's, as far as what's going on in town, public safety wise with the EOs, that's about it. We have a really good week. Certainly a good indication that, we don't expect to have any big issues here as we continue, hopefully, to open things up over the coming weeks. We can talk about mask compliance because that comes up and we still get calls about that. We're probably seeing about 50%, probably maybe even a little better the last couple of days, mask compliance in town. So we went over this last week. Masks are not required; they're just recommended. Big difference there. There's nothing that we're going to enforce if people choose not to wear their masks. It's just something we're asking people to do because it's a recommendation, and ultimately, we believe that helps to reduce our risks of transmission. So we continue to kind of keep this curve flat, and then hopefully headed in the downward direction here before long. Talk about another couple of issues that have come up. These are things we've been getting calls and/or inquiries about. The one big one, and it's not really, I don't want to say it doesn't involve us because it certainly does, but it's more of a school district issue, is the high school graduation. So we know, again, I've talked about this over the last month and a half we've been doing this. I have a high school senior myself. Graduation is obviously something that's on everyone's mind. We want to give the kids an opportunity to have some kind of closure to their school year. So Dr. Latwis and I have been in touch. He's reached out for me several times over planning and different potential plans and alternate plans for graduation. What ultimately we don't want to do, or what I don't want to do, is I don't want to look at the executive orders and put my interpretation on it, tell the school district, yep, that plan is great, you can go ahead with that. And then as we get closer, have the state or somebody that's in that OEM circle look and say, well, no, you really can't do that. So what we're doing to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance of whatever we decide to do, or whatever the school district decides to do, having it approved, is we've taken the plan that Dr. Latwis had in place and submitted it up to state OEM for their feedback. We've got probably 500 school districts that are doing the same thing with the state. And the guidance that we've got from OEM is that they understand this is an issue that the whole state is going to require guidance on, and that we can expect in the coming days we're going to get some kind of guidance from the state on what's allowable as far as graduations go. I think it's important to remember when it comes to the mass gatherings or the prohibition of gatherings. They don't have the ability legally to pick and choose, right? We either have to say that gatherings are okay or gatherings aren't okay. If we start to single out this kind of a gathering is okay, but this kind of a gathering is not okay, that's where we run into equity issues, constitutional issues, and that becomes a problem. So I don't see any big change unless the state is anticipating that we're going to come out of the executive order that covers the stay-at-home order, that EO 107. So, I say all of that to say this. We know that that's a primary concern of the community. Clearly, the school district, it's their primary concern, and we've done everything we can do on our part to submit a plan and our concerns and our wants and desires up to the state, and now we just have to wait and see what kind of feedback we get from them, so we know what the plan is going to be going forward. So we're going to continue to work with the school district to make sure that we support them and help them to accomplish the most that we can allowably accomplish as it pertains to graduation. Next one that we keep getting is the request for birthday parades. So going to be the same deal. I know. I get it's like I remember when my kids were little, when I, say, no, we can't do this. And I get but Mary's mom let her do it and Johnny's dad let him do it. I know we see other towns doing it. That's great. But bottom line for us is the executive order says that we can't leave our homes unless it's for a list of approved things. So if people are going to go out and do that, it's not something that we can sanction as a law enforcement entity, and we're certainly not going to participate in it. So, this is just like when we had to do the same thing with Easter. It's not because I wanted to cancel Easter or I don't like the Easter bunny. It's because we're going to have consistent application and messaging as an agency, and that means that if we're not allowed to really have those under the executive order, well, then we're not gonna approve them, say they're okay. We're certainly not going to participate in them. So I appreciate the request. Now everybody's trying to do something special for their family members that are going through birthdays and all kinds of other life events that we normally get to celebrate as a group, but that is an unfortunate byproduct of what we have going on. Another question we keep getting is about the Junior Police Academy. That's always a big popular event that we have here in the summer. And I've gotten that question repeatedly over the last couple of weeks, and especially over the seems like the last week. The answer is I don't know where we're going to be, 2 weeks from now, never mind 2 months from now when it comes to these executive orders. So we're going to have a plan in place internally that if we get a green light that we can carry out the Junior Police Academy, we're going to plan for the end of the summer, maybe more towards August, later in August. But we're not going to take applications. We're not going to do anything like that until we're sure that we have an environment where, one, it's allowable, and two, we can do it safely. So probably won't hear anything definitive on that for a while, and I'll let you know as soon as we do have something. So that's really the rundown of where we're at, and all of the major questions that we've gotten over the past week. I'm going to start doing the old scroll here through the comments and see what we have. So if you got questions, go ahead and post them up. I feel like my comments are awfully delayed tonight because I only see about 2 of them up here. So we usually have way more than that by now. So I'm going to give it a second here and see if I'm sure this has to do with the fact that I'm running off of the hotspot and not the Wi-Fi. Just trying to see where our video rate is here. All right, so I am not seeing any questions posting up, which I am sure is owed to our bad or limited internet connection here. Let me try. We're gonna try a little sidestep here. I'm gonna see if I can access it from my phone while we're on the computer, and see if I can pull questions from here if they're on here. All right. I am not seeing any on here either. All right, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's more of a technical problem on this end than the fact that there are no questions getting posted, because we usually are inundated with them. Canali, I don't know. When you come and start one here, buddy, we could use a hockey team. One of my childhood, lifelong best friends and fellow hockey players. Jimmy Mack, only see 2 comments. I cannot believe that we only have 2 comments on a Facebook Live. That is a new record. All right, if that's the case, we're gonna go ahead and jump off. You want to post comments later, or I'm going to scroll through, and if I see other ones, I'll go ahead and answer them. And otherwise, we will jump back on. Stream is in protected mode. Somebody's tipping me off that there's a setting off on the stream. Stand by on that. All right, there we go. We got a wrong tab hit. See, that's what happens when you let the old guy handle the electronics. All right, here we go. All right, Nick, I see your comment on Ravenwood. We've got people on Ravenwood. We've put people on Ravenwood since that last time that you posted. Even put them in the house numbers that you asked for there. So we continue to monitor that, and we'll continue to stay on top of it. Definitely not missing you there on that. Are there clothing bin donations open? Good question, Alicia. I do not know. There are some at the schools, and I know I want to say they have one down at the American Legion, but I am not sure if those bins are open. But I think they are. I will check for you and circle back. Yes, happy Mother's Day coming up to everybody. Yeah, yeah, Vincent. I think I fat fingered the settings when I was trying to get this up off of the Wi-Fi, or not having the Wi-Fi connection here and jumping off the phone. What's up, April? Vincent, how do we register vehicles purchased from a private party? Excellent question. The short answer is you can't. They've extended the existing registrations, like we talked about, and licenses and all that other good stuff. But they have not given us a provision yet for registering vehicles after they're privately purchased. So I'll actually post up another question on that to our state conference tomorrow morning and see if there's any new guidance on that, because I haven't seen it asked in about a week, and we'll circle back with you on that. Yeah, Brandy, it's a good idea. But again, we have to wait and see what the rules are going to be as far as social distancing and gatherings and stuff like that before we're gonna move forward with anything like that. There we go. Thank you, Robert. Yep, Firehouse on Barnegat Boulevard clothing bin is open. Hi, Mrs. Essig. Rest this early afternoon happened behind my house. Can I ask what happened? Sure, Jackie. We're going to put something out on that tomorrow. We had a call that involved started as a domestic, ended up being involving a robbery. Subject fled the scene. One of our officers who's out on the road, actually Lieutenant Carroll, who's the commander of the Uniform Patrol Division, saw the person hiding. Person took off running. One of our crew members was out there, heard what was going on, headed out to the scene. And again, somebody who decided to run from us made the mistake of doing it when one of our local standout athletes was working. So he was able to jump a few fences, catch up with the subject, get him to the ground. Subject fought the officer, resisted arrest, and was eventually taken into custody. So officer's okay, not injured, and the subject will be up lodged in the county jail. Whole laundry list of charges: aggravated assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, robbery, probably about 5 other charges. I'll put something out on it, or we'll put something out on it tomorrow. So another great job by the different divisions here working together, and crew is always seems to be there when we need him. So. Katie, let me look into it. The question keeps coming up about masks. We keep getting calls about masks. There is no requirement that people wear masks. There is a recommendation that people wear masks. We can ask you to wear masks. We can tell you we think it's a good idea to wear masks. But as it stands right now, there's no legal authority for us to enforce any kind of a provision of people wearing masks. So again, like is often the case in society, we just have to rely on people to do the right thing. And when they don't want to do that, as I learned earlier in my career, it's unfortunately not illegal to be a jerk. So it is what it is. Again, people who have medical issues that they can't wear masks, although that's a small percent of the population. And I really have to say I've seen better than 50% mask compliance here. Obviously, it's required when you're inside those essential businesses. You're inside Acme, when you're inside Wawa, and we really haven't had any issues or any complaints on that. So, but I'll look into that specific call, Katie, and get back to you on that. I don't, Julie. I know. I don't know if Waretown got their dog park up and running over there, but I am not sure where you can do that. I appreciate that, Jackie. All right, what's going to be built? A large property that was cleared on Route 9. I believe that is billed as luxury condos. Yeah, I'm getting a couple of text messages from people that I keep freezing. Again, unfortunately, we don't have the Wi-Fi up and running in the building today due to an IT problem. So I am running off of a cell phone hotspot. So sorry about that. We'll have it squared away for next week. Oh, Charlotte, good question. See, always good questions with this group. Are the drones used by Barnegat PD made in China? And were the drones donated by China to the Barnegat PD? So here's your 45-second rundown on the drones. First of all, actually, the drone, the case that we had today that we talked about with the robbery, we actually used the drone in the search for that subject. So, because as you remember, the drone that we have has infrared and thermal capability on it. So it's great for finding people hiding. The drones that we have are DJI, which is the company that is Chinese owned. There's a big concern about that, as I spoke about when the committee had asked me about this in the past. DJI, unfortunately, is makes the best drones that you can get at a very affordable price. There's really nothing else that compares to them on the market. Period. And in the way that we use them, we simply take the video onto a card, pull it off the card, and we're not dealing with any of their software otherwise. I got a whole block on this when I was down in Quantico at the FBI National Academy back in the fall, and essentially the concern is that there could potentially be video going back to Chinese servers, although there's no proof of that. What we use the drones for here, whether it's search or rescue, whether it's a suspect search, what we're using the drones for is capturing video of things that are out in the open that if you're worried about the Chinese government getting a picture of it, they can get a picture of it from any of the couple of thousand commercial satellites that are up there flying over us. So it's the concern is more if you were using the drones to inspect or secure some kind of critical infrastructure that wouldn't be visible necessarily from a satellite pass. So yes, they are DJI. No, we did not get them donated by anybody. They're very expensive. We actually used a grant to secure ours here, so we didn't have to dip in budget to do it. We did it with a grant. But again, it is it's a great tool. It really gives us the opportunity to do all the things that a $17 million helicopter would do, except we can deploy it from the back of a police SUV and have it up in the air in no time. So. And it doesn't cost $7,000 an hour to run. So that was a good question. Thank you. Why is Barnegat doing Nixon notifications like Waretown? So, all right, we'll talk about that because it keeps coming up. I get out here once a week and try to do this. We try to get you the updates. And then the question comes up, why isn't the township putting anything out? We had discussions. Obviously, I talked to the administrator here. I talked to the committee virtually every day, different members of the committee. They made the decision early on that because we essentially were connected with OEM, obviously we're doing the day-to-day public safety here, that there wasn't really a reason for me to put out information and then to have them regurgitate the same information. So they felt it was best to just, we already have the ability to reach out and hit a lot of people through our social media presence, through the nixels we do put out. So they made a decision to just take, actually let the police department put out the information. They take the links to these videos, put it on the township website. So that was the way that they chose to approach that. Frankly, it makes it a lot easier on our end as a police department to make sure that we get the accurate information out. There's no having to make sure everybody's on the same page and trying to get everybody's stats and numbers together. It just makes it easier, and it seems to work. So I don't want to get into the people hurling political bombs over this should be done or that should be done or that shouldn't be done. I'll say the same thing I've said since the beginning. We have been able, as an agency, to respond very effectively to this, in my opinion, because the township, the committee, the administrator, the CFO, they have given us all of the tools we need to respond to this, and they have given us the space that we need to operate as an agency without having to, constantly be running through 17 different channels of communication to get anything done. There's a reason I think that our agency has led on this since day one, and that's because we're able to, take a snapshot of what's going on and make quick, relevant decisions and change direction quickly when we need to. So, if I need something from the committee, from the administrator, from the CFO, I can pick up the phone during the day, at night, on Saturday, on Sunday. It doesn't matter. I'm able to get a hold of them, and we continue to work together really well. So I don't want anybody to think there's some kind of a, they're not paying attention and we're not having communication. It's absolutely daily communication, multiple times a day. We've just chosen to use the police department as the mechanism to get that information out to the public, which, judging by the couple of hundred people that are usually on here on a Thursday night, seems to be working pretty well. So that's why. Good question, though. That I talk so long like the Italian I am, it gives people time to post questions. Can we do COVID updates like Ware Town every day? Dawn, honestly, the reason that we chose not to do it every day is because the information's already there. The Ocean County Health Department puts it out every day. It's right on the website, and you're not going to get any different information from us than you're getting from them. So, there's a sweet spot in between not talking to people enough and getting kind of an information overload where we're just peppering you with stuff all the time, and then people just kind of tune out and stop paying attention to it. So we're whatever we are, 7 weeks into this now, and this seems to be working well, right? You remember in the beginning I was typing them out on Facebook, and it just frankly takes more time to type it out than it does to just have this interaction, and this works better because then we can be kind of virtually conversational, and you get a chance to ask questions. Is off-roading illegal in Barnegat? I hit this last week. I'll hit it today. There are virtually, because you may be able to find a postage stamp somewhere, there are virtually no places in Barnegat that you can legally ride an ATV, quad, dirt bike, whatever it is. If you're on state property, it's not allowed. If you're on county property, it's not allowed. If you're on township property, it's not allowed. And if you're on private property, you have to have not just permission of the owner, but written permission, and you have to have that written permission in your possession when you're riding on the property. So there are, again, virtually no places that you can ride. Again, most of you know, I grew up here. I know that that's part of the culture here is, getting out in the woods, and everybody enjoys doing it. It's a much different town now than it was 40 years ago when I was a kid. And it's just the reality is there is no place that you can legally ride here. So not the answer anybody wants to hear, but unfortunately it is the answer. Are we over the curve, Katie? If you look at where we were at, I talked about this briefly last week. We had been doubling cases every 3 to 5 days in the beginning. Then we stretched out to 7 or 8 days. And as we're sitting right now, we're at a doubling rate of more than a month. So yes, by all indications, the curve here has flattened out, and I'm sure we'll be hopefully headed in the right direction here before long. Vince